In the last 125 years, more than 50 million people have died due to road accidents. And the statistics are actually jaw-dropping, because when you look at it, currently the world loses about 1.35 million people to road crashes. And this is about 3,700 people on a daily basis. When we bring the story closer home here in Kenya, you're talking about 10 people on average every day losing their lives to road accidents. If I take you to last year, we lost about 4,600 people to road accidents. And to date, 10 months later, more than 3,600 people have perished on our roads. And so tonight we just want to ask a simple question. How do we bring the number of road crashes on our roads? That is a question that I'll be posing to my team of experts tonight. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us. My name is O'Brien Kimani. You're right on time for the scorecard. Tonight our conversation revolves around road safety. What is the National Transport and Safety Authority doing to ensure that our roads are safe? What is the role of our engineers in designing proper roads? And of course, what is the role of the drivers in ensuring that they get home safely or they get from point A to point B safely? All that conversation is coming up right here. We are in the company of Mary Yambu. She's about to break down the statistics for us even deeper so that we can she can help us understand more about the topic that we are discussing tonight. Mary Yambu.
Indeed, O'Brien, thank you very much, and thank you back at home or from wherever you're joining us this evening. This is the scorecard, and just as O'Brien has already said, we will be talking about road safety. We want to look at statistics in as far as road users are concerned. Which roads, for instance, are more dangerous, or at least have been marked as dangerous? All that will be coming up. And O'Brien, I just want to bring you to up to speed with something that I during the research I was surprised that actually road accidents has been ranked by the WHO, that is the World Health Organization, as among the top 5 causes of death in Kenya, especially for people between 5 and 70 years. So we'll be getting to understand more with our guests in studio as to why this is happening. So I just want to run you through some of the numbers that we were able to gather for you tonight. And between the last 4 years, this is 2020 to 2023, we are having, in 2020 there were 3,707 people who died as a result of road accidents. In 2021 it was 4,121. 2022 that's 3,936, while in 2023, this was released just the other day, 3,609 people lost their lives to road accidents. We delved into some of the numbers within the month. So in January, 379 people died, while in February it was 340. That was just a bit of, the numbers going low, but in March the numbers picked up to 389, 357 in April, while June actually marked the highest number of road fatalities this year at 439, while in May it was actually in 440. July marked the lowest number of road fatalities at 325. September, 338, while in October it was at 330 people. Now we also get to look at some of the roads that have been marked as being dangerous. When you're driving there, you need to pay attention. But before I give you those numbers, let's look at some of the comparisons in terms of, road carnage in as far as road users are concerned. And this was very interesting for me, O'Brien, because pedestrians, for me, we have more deaths of pedestrians, 139 in 2022, that is October. And October this year, we have 129. So those are questions that probably will need our guests to explain to us in as far as, is it that people are not paying attention in terms of, adhering to the road, traffic rules in terms of where do you cross the road, or is it a matter of how our infrastructure is, and that in itself is allowing for this number of people to lose their lives. Motorcyclists, those who died in 2022 in October, stands at 97, 91 in October 2023. Passengers, 57 and 41 in October 2023. Pillion passengers, this is what we call the border passengers. 33 died in 2022 October, 35. That's just a slight increase there. And drivers who died in 2022 October stands at 30, 29 in 2023. While pedal cyclists, these are just bicycle riders, if I may call them, 5 is the number in 2022 and 2023 October. So just as I already alluded to, some of the roads that have been marked as dangerous across the country: Nairobi-Mombasa Road, that is around Sabaki, Machakos. 4 people died this October this year, that is in 2023. Katito Sondu Road, especially around Holo area, that is in Kisumu, again 4 people died there. Mombasa Nairobi Highway along Kalulu area in Makueni, 3 people died there. The same number of people died along the Mombasa Malindi Road, especially at Machine Stage, that is in Kilifi. Nakuru Eldoret Highway at Nyanja area in Nakuru, also 3 people died there in October 2023. And along Fort Tenan Mohoroni Road at the Kadenge Bridge area. That is an area, I think, Brian, if I'm not wrong, recently we did have quite a number of fatalities when a bus overturned over there. And then Southern Bypass here in Nairobi, near Ngong Forest, again 2 people died along that road. So those are just some of the numbers that we were able to get for you tonight, and our guests will be delving deeper into this discussion because we want to understand these numbers are people, they are not just numbers. So Brian, I hand it over to you to introduce our guests and get on with the discussion.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Marie Yambo, and please don't go too far because this is a conversation that we have to undertake with you. Tonight is a very, very, should I say, a painful conversation that we are going to have tonight on what road carnage is doing to our economy, to our families, and to our lives. And of course, messing up with our social fabric as a nation. It's not a joke when you have about 3,000 or actually almost 5,000 people losing their lives every year. And you know what? The world loses about $1.8 trillion US in terms of economic value due to road crashes. And so you're talking about big numbers here. And as I told you, we have a team of experts in the house, as we always do, just to help us go through this conversation and help us make sense of the conversation that we are going to have. And I'll start on my immediate right. We have Miss, sorry, just hang on there. We have Miss Melania Thoita. She's a road safety expert and also a volunteer whose work is to ensure that road crash victims are attended accordingly. Melania, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Melania Thoita. I'm a volunteer with Backside Road Safety Awareness, where our major work is to look at the road safety, try to reach out to the relevant authorities on issues to do with what is really happening to our roads. We are having the numbers increasing, and as we have been taken through the numbers, I would like to say that it is our duty to question, is this the figure for real, or is it higher or lower? So I'll be here to take through what we think from the grassroots level as a volunteer. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, of course, for raising that question. And luckily we have the man from the National Transport and Safety Authority who is here to respond to such questions. And we're talking about Mr. Samuel Musumba. He is the Road Safety Manager and Safety Programs at the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA. Musumba, Asante sana for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
And I'm sure by now you're conjuring an answer to what Melania is raising. Yeah. But we'll get to that point.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Whereby we'll question the numbers, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
And finally, we have Bright Oyuaba. She's a road safety advocate and also a survivor of road accident. She's here to share with us her story and what we can do to make our roads safer for all of us. Bright, asante sana for being with us this evening. Perhaps I think I would want to start with you. I want to give you about 3 minutes to give us, to tell us how you ended up in a wheelchair.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm grateful to be here. And before I get there, I would also want to tell you, beyond just being a road safety survivor, I'm a road safety advocate working for different national and global organizations in consultancy and advocacy.
Very good.
Having worked even with NTSA at the board for about 6 years. So road safety is my space. Well, I was involved in a road crash. And the circumstances were the very same things we continue to speak about today. There was an issue of speeding, a vehicle that was overtaking at a place where the road did not allow that. And then we had a head-on collision. Then we had a speeding vehicle behind us, hit us from behind. We were in a private vehicle. So that led to my spine being injured permanently. And for the last many years, I've been sitting on a wheelchair. Of course, the processes in between are quite long. The other circumstance that we continue to talk about that was an issue even then was the post-crash care. It took us quite a very long time to be evacuated from the place of the crash to where we could get meaningful help. There was a district hospital then around, but it didn't have any facilities. So we had to wait for hundreds of kilometers to get a proper ambulance to take us to a hospital that we were able to get help. And that timing and process that was involved getting from the crash scene to the district hospital to the Savo National Park trying to be evacuated, aircraft not taking off because of the rains, back to the district hospital, calling an ambulance, because it was at Manyani on the way to Mombasa, calling an ambulance.
So that was the Nairobi-Mombasa highway?
Yes, all the way from Mombasa, an ambulance coming. By the time they were taking us now to Mombasa, because Mombasa was now nearer than Nairobi, it was like 11 hours.
11 hours.
Yes, and I injured
That's all the time it
permanently.
took for you to be evacuated?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And all this time you are in pain?
I have no idea. I think the pain was too much. I blacked out.
Okay.
So the rest of the stories I'm told what happened on the site are things I'm told by those that were conscious enough to observe. So it's just still what happens now, and that's the sad part of the story. That what happened several years ago we don't seem to learn. We don't seem to put in place mechanisms that reduce even the numbers, because what I have heard, the reports so far that you have mentioned, are about the people that have died. But yes, for every person that dies, there are close to 10 people that are injured. And
so
several families. Yes, and there are several families that are usually dependent on those people, because those people that are moving around are normally commercially viable. The people that are working, the people that are young. You've seen the statistics tell us the age bracket that is likely to be involved in road crashes. Those are the working class. Those are the people that build the nation. So if one of them dies or is injured permanently, like I was, then you realize that families are devastated. It's a huge social economic issue, beyond just it being a health issue, beyond just it being an economic issue. It is also a social economic issue, because it affects even families.
And how many years ago were these?
Wow. This is about 26 years, and I'm still paying the price. Yes.
26 years ago. And when you look at the last 26 years ago, do you think our safety records have improved?
Yes and no, and I'll say this way. If you consider there's been a little more of industrialization, a little bit more of numbers of the vehicles on our roads, a little bit more of road expansion, the population has also grown, but we still capture numbers at about between 3,000 to 4,000. But let me tell you one thing, even those numbers don't give us a true picture. If you really want to know the true picture, you look at what
provided by national
the WHO gives, and it includes, because what numbers does NTSA give us? They give us the numbers that they get from the police. And the police give us numbers usually from what happens on site. We still don't have a connectedness in data collection that now follows up people that go to hospital, people that die later, people that hit and run sometimes, or people that don't report. So that when you aggregate, whenever we report like the last numbers that WHO gave us was 13,000 for Kenya. So while we were reporting 3,000 something, they were reporting 13,000 because if you use plus the vital registry numbers, being able to track through, the correct number shall actually be known when we'll be able to connect all our data right from the site to the hospitals, to the first responders, aggregating those numbers. So the numbers are quite high. So
They're
not just
high.
the people that die, but also the people that get injured, and especially those that get permanently injured like I was.
Musumba. So when you publish a report and tell the nation that 4,690 people died in 2022, where do you get these numbers from?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. The data that we have, we source it from the police. Police are actually like not really the first responders, but they come in, which is their duty, to look at accident scenes. They do arrive there, pick the numbers, but also these are numbers that are supposed to help them put up cases because they have an investigator. I mean, a role to investigate issues on that road. So as a country, I think we've been relying on that. They would pick these numbers from the scene. But what do we lack? What Madam Bright has rightly put it, is the follow-ups now thereafter. Because in that scene, of course, there are deaths, but there are also injuries. And who follows up to connect these dots up to hospital level? Are we able to get that feedback? Like, I was involved in an incident and then perhaps gotten injured, either healed, disabled, oh, I died. So that really is the missing link here. But having said that, we also appreciate really what these guys do. Getting that kind of information and trying to make sense out of it, it's not very easy.
The police, you mean?
The police, yes. Internationally...
Well, that's part of their duty,
Oh,
right?
yes. The practice internationally is that you have to give a space for about 30 days for you to say, yeah, this is a death related to a road incident, for example. So you have to follow up to the hospitalization level, wait until this guy 30 days later to see, did he succumb? And if he succumbed, what are those injuries like? Were they related to the incident or not? But even at the hospital level, many other dynamics come in. Because you get to hospital, while we are nursing you for injury related to an incident on the road, you may develop other conditions. But then even at the hospital level, you realize that issues on injuries, particularly related injuries, are not really put up there. In fact, the medical guys look at other diseases, other things that kill people other than these injuries. So, again, where we have put the injuries, where we have put this data, even at hospital level, it's something that as a country we really need to have this information, really harmonized. But we're working on that. As we sit here, we're trying to improve our data.
Data collection.
Yes, and analysis and even presentation. And one of the things we're doing is really look at all the sources of data. Are we able to corroborate all this information from the responders on the ground, at the hospital, the national police, and any other custodian of that data? Because there's civil registration that has similar data, which they pick from their own sources. So that is really an effort towards harmonizing this information and even the reporting of it. How do you report such incidences? Because there's an element of underreporting, there's an element of sometimes even over-reporting, it happens. But there's so much under-reporting of this information. So efforts around that to see that then we improve our reporting, analysis, and even presentation of this data to inform policy. Because this is what we rely on, to inform decisions, to inform policy, to inform interventions, here and there. But that is something that we are really working on. Yeah.
Help us understand things. I mean, and I like the fact that you have highlighted the problem. The NTSA has been around now for how many years? Is it 12 years now?
2013. Since
2013. So you're looking at 10 years.
Yeah, it was 10 years, yeah.
One would want to imagine that since the formation of NTSA, 10 years is a good duration for you to develop mechanisms and systems for you to check the veracity and the originality of the data that you get. And she has highlighted something that the country has always grappled with, that the numbers of deaths from road crashes that are reported are the numbers on the scene. But we have never managed to do a follow-up to know when people are hospitalized, how many people get out of the hospital. And that's why she's saying the numbers could be higher. So why has it taken NTSA, to have this kind of a system, like collaboration with the Ministry of Health, just to be checking on their monthly health reports and mortality reports as well, so that you can corroborate what you get and with what you get from the Kenya Police Service?
It takes a bit of time to really come up with very strong systems, very structured systems.
How much time? Well, you've been around for 10 years.
Because again, the other dynamics that come in, institutional frameworks that sometimes point to different directions, institutions not pulling together sometimes. I'm not here to blame an institution. I'm really avoiding that. But that happens a lot.
Well, we're not blaming. We just want to highlight the weaknesses. So that, the relevant agencies and authorities can deal with it.
And as I was saying that if you look at civil registration, they will hold on to their data because it serves them the purpose that then, which is their mandate. It's not about, to them it's not about safety. It's something else. If you look at the medical institution as well, they have that data that serves them for their own purposes. So really bringing all these institutions together to harmonize this, which requires policy, even tempering the policy a bit to see that we have this information on the same script. It takes a bit of time because these are government institutions, different mandates, structured differently, pursuing different goals here and there. So
I would like to take a detour, from the argument. I mean, yes, it's true. Coming up with systems, procedures, policies. It can take time. Absolutely. But some of these are also very easy. It's as easy as signing an MOU with a certain county government. Okay, that would want to be getting this kind of report from your hospitals within this county. Okay, and so it is not so hard, and that's where I think now I would want to bring her. You say that you're on the ground, that you respond to these cases, and you are questioning the veracity of the data as presented by NTSA. What data do you have?
What I would like to say, as much as we say NTSA, it's doing a good job, yes, but when we look at the statistics, let us not talk about statistics as per se. We are talking about the lives of the people. These are lives, 3,609 their lives. But this is just a figure that I feel we have not considered so much other people that die. That is hit and run. We have, as what Bright has said, do we follow up? Us on the ground, once an accident happens, you get a call, there is this accident that has happened. Kindly, are you able to help? Before even the police officers, we find ourselves, we are with the police officers there. But you find, as he said, NTSA, I believe it's a big institution, 10 years. it's a long time whereby you hope to have come with some strategies of how do we respond to these accidents. Not about only statistics. You have argued and said it seems a big deal, but to me I feel it's not a big deal. It's a matter of coming to the ground. We have so many stakeholders on road safety who are in different counties. For example, from my end, I can say there is a guy called Nyaga. He's always at the patrol. This guy, do you come to such a person and ask, Nyaga, are we having, what is your data for the accidents that have happened in the places that you have witnessed? Then
but is he an authority?
He's just a volunteer, as I am. So, but he's most likely all the time he's on the ground whenever there is an accident. So is NTSA able to involve the volunteers at the ground level?
So what I'm getting from you is there should be a collaboration with volunteers who are on the ground. But I also want to find out from you, you see, NTSA will tell us that about 10 to 12 people, you know, die every day on Kenyan roads. Do you agree with these numbers?
No, I don't agree.
What numbers would you agree with?
For example, I'll only take one road, Eastern Bypass. I think it's among the newest road around Kamakisa. On Saturday, we had the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims with the
So the Eastern Bypass is the road that starts at Roiro?
It starts at Kehunguro all the way to Roiro. And the base commander gave a figure. Between January and June, they had reported 30 people had died on that road. 30
people?
Yes, that is between January and June. So when we talk about these statistics, I feel I differ with them completely. Those are just the ones that the base commander was able to report. What about those people who are involved and proceeded to the hospital? Are we able to know, did they make it or not?
Very good. We'll be coming back because we you know, when we are here on national airwaves, you know, the whole point is not to complain without solutions. We must also propose for solutions because we are Kenyans and Kenya is our country. And when one family is in pain, we should feel the pain as Kenyans. And so I'll be seeking to find out from you, then what do we need to do to lower these numbers? Okay, I'll be coming back to find out from you, Miss Bright. Well, if you're just joining us, you're watching the Scorecard live from Broadcasting House. Our conversation tonight revolves around road safety, what we need to do to bring the number of fatalities on our roads. And we're talking about big numbers. The World Bank will talk about almost 13,000 people every year. And the National Transport Authority will give you a figure of about almost 5,000 every year. And so how do we suppress these numbers? Because the beauty of it is to have zero fatalities, zero crashes on our roads. But that will take efforts of each and every one of us. This is the Scorecard. We're taking a break and thereafter we'll be back with bigger conversations. Stay right here. Welcome back. Road safety is our conversation tonight on the Scorecard. We're in the company of Samuel Musumba. He's a Road Safety and Safety Programs Manager at the National Transport and Safety Authority. And we also have Ms. Bright Oyoawa. She's a road safety advocate and also a survivor of road accident. And next to me we have Melania Thoita, who is a road safety expert. Before we went for the break, I mean, we heard about, you know, the conflicting numbers that we have and what cannot be measured. You know, it's get very hard, you know, to get the good results. And so then we need to ask ourselves then, how do we get, you know, good data? How do we get the proper representation of the number of cases on our roads in terms of deaths and injuries? And that is what we're having here. And also the other thing that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we reduce this number, if possible, to zero? And I want to hear this from Ms. Bright. I mean, Look, road crashes is not a unique problem to Kenya. I mean, I gave statistics, you know, at a global level, whereby, you know, almost 1.4 million people, you know, they lose their lives daily on due to road accidents. And the first road accident happened 125 years ago. And up to that point, we have lost about 51 million people. That's almost the entire population of Kenya.
Yes.
And so from where you sit, and from your many years of observation, what do we need to do to break this number down?
First and foremost, we need to acknowledge what the issue is, and so that we don't have intermittent interventions. Just like when you go to a doctor and you say, I'm feeling sick, he goes behind the drawer and he brings you medicine. No diagnosis. You see, data is what tells us where we are sick and where the problem is. So if we don't have clean data, our interventions are likely not targeting the real issue. From 2011 to 2020, we had a decade of action that was declared for road safety, and here in Kenya we launched it. There are several countries that were able to reduce the number of, and the target was to reduce the number of crashes by 50%. There are countries that were actually able to do that. But when you study and look at what did they do differently, one, clean data. We need to clean our data systems. Two, we need to look at it in a holistic manner. There is no one single organization, and yes, we can point fingers at NTSA, but there's no one single entity that will solve the problem of road crashes, because it is multifaceted. It has to do with infrastructure, it has to do with education, it has to do with interactions of human beings and traffic. So we also need to have a systems approach. The problem we've been having in most places where we haven't had these improvements is when we are not systematic, when we are very erratic. We have crackdowns, December, April, but we haven't taken time to study what the numbers are telling us. Even the numbers that we have, as much as we say they're not complete, they will tell us pedestrians are number one, followed by motorcyclists. What are our interventions? Do they look like pedestrians, then motorcyclists? So we need to match what the issue is with interventions. But all is not lost, because I know Samuel will tell us a bit about that, I'm sure. There is a pilot that has happened in terms of getting all the data together, the pilot project that has happened. The first attempt to really bring this data together so we see where we really are. The other thing that has happened or is going to happen soon that can help us is having a unified vision through the National Action Plan. For a long time, everybody does their small thing in the corner. At the end of time, it is very hard to measure. And it's very hard to even say these interventions are going towards improving our safety on the roads. Let us assume we look at infrastructure of a road, and I'll give you, for example, Salga. And Salga was an infrastructural issue. It didn't matter how many campaigns we had there, and we did some. But the moment we identified the issue was infrastructure and did something on the infrastructure, people stopped dying at Salga. So that just tells you.
And this was the dualing of that section?
Yes.
Of the highway?
What was the causes mostly? Overtaking, the carelessness that was happening around that area, people going uphill and downhill. So when you identify a problem, and I said diagnosis, then will be followed by the medication, and then the prognosis will be what we expect it to be. But we haven't quite grasped a systematic way of doing things. I do a lot of work with international organizations, and I see countries where crashes go down like this, while ours go up. And it's just a matter of systemic approach, the holistic nature in which they approach road safety. You get engineering at work, you get education at work, you get enforcement at work, you get proper laws and a framework also, enforceable laws at work, and then together we have a common vision. Otherwise, we will be firefighting, and we have been firefighting for a very short while. We have interventions that seem like they are working, but they're not sustainable. So we also need sustainability.
Yeah.
That is the other thing. So coordination becomes very critical because you have different people endowed with different resources and different capacities. If we pull together, then we will begin to see road safety being dealt with, and also funding and financing. Road safety is not a cheap. It is actually an investment. Many times we look at road safety as a cost, but we expend close to 5% of our GDP on the after effect, while this is money we can save and use it on research in hospitals and do other things other than the aftermath. Like I told you 26 years ago, I had one incident. I pay for it to date. I still do physiotherapy. I still need hospitalization sometimes. I still need this, I still need the other from one incident. So multiply by the number of people that are involved.
And the number becomes,
yes,
quite worrying. I like the fact that you have brought in the issue of Salga. And we saw, when the issue almost got out of hand. We saw the government now moving in through the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure and dualing that section of the highway. And since that, I understand accidents have dropped by more than 90% in the last 1 year.
Right, absolutely.
So that tells you that what if the same was to be replicated on most of our roads? What kind of impact this is likely to have? And I want to hear this from NTSA. When you are having stakeholders engagement with government institutions like Kenya National Highways Authority, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KERA, Kenya Roads Board, I mean, do you raise these issues with them?
Absolutely. Quite often we do that. What this Brett pointed out, for the longest, we have not had that good coordination of all these issues. And I will tell you that for some time, the engineers will not admit even some of our reports. Because you take their report and say, hey, this road is killing people, and they will tell you, which design manual are you talking for? The engineers will look at themselves the way lawyers look at themselves. Right? If you're not a learned friend, they don't have to listen to you. And that is not to really point fingers at them, but it's taken a bit of time to have all of us speak from the same script, to have all of us just pull ourselves together, pull efforts towards addressing some of these issues. But yes, now we have a whole department that does road safety audits at NTSA with an engineer actually who is in charge of that. And a number of those reports are shared with the road agencies. And I will tell you there's so much improvement. Even some of the areas that we used to think are quote-unquote black spots are now being treated, quite many of them. So there's continuous road assessment, continuous road audits that inform then certain measures that are being taken. Yes, we communicate with them, and there's a good working relationship with road agencies now. In fact, we're in the same ministry now. So it's very easy for me to walk to a table of an engineer and tell him, hey, look, this is not right. But other than that also, there's now improvement even on design manuals that are now coming up. We see an opportunity where now the designs that are going to come up now will really accommodate safety more than perhaps what we have seen before. Because the designs then at that time was like engineers will do their thing on their own. They come and implement, come and construct that road. Thereafter, the road starts killing people and starts saying, hey, can we improve here and there? But
allow me to interject and find out from you. When road agencies are designing roads, do they get input from NTSA?
Currently, yes. Previously, no. They will do their thing, come and implement. Then when issues come up again now, is when now we start talking to each other. But currently, yes. At least we sit in now with a department that now looks at road audits. These engineers, of course, they belong to the same space, so they're able to now share that information.
Do you have road safety engineers
oh, yes.
in your institution?
Yes.
You know, people who can sit down and argue from an engineering perspective.
Absolutely.
That if we do this on this highway, it's likely to be a mess in the future.
Oh yes, we have a whole director actually who sits on the engineers board. By the way, I think
and maybe on that one I can jump in and say that Kenya needs to make more investments on road safety engineers. Most of the engineers we have actually civil engineers or other types of engineers who do road safety, and really they are not typically road safety engineers. And I'm not even saying that they don't do a good job. I'm just saying there's need for capacity building and the admission that there is a very specific kind of engineer called a road safety engineer that are very few around.
Actually, when I was going through the data from the Engineers Board of Kenya, there are less than 300 road safety engineers in Kenya.
Actually, what we are doing now, through now what we have, is a lot of capacity building of these engineers. Just recently they've gone through a training on safety engineering, something that quite a number of them did not have, I would agree. We're just trying to put them on the same page and say, look, even now as you look at our reports, then you have that safety eye of looking at things. It is shaping up now. Hopefully we'll have more of these numbers.
Very well. I want to hear this from Melania. I mean, you come from an environment, you know, whereby, you know, there are multiple volunteers in this sector, and so you know, operating in different silos. I want to hear from you, number one, why is it hard, you know, for all road volunteer agencies, you know, to come under one roof and start speaking with one voice, so that, you know, because there is beauty in numbers. That's what we say. And then number two, I remember there was a time when county government, you know, were talking about stationing fast responders or ambulances fully equipped with the necessary kit and personnel, you know, at various road sectors, and I mean road junctions. And I remember Machakos County used to do that. I don't know whether they still do the same. Do you see this kind of interventions?
Yeah, when we talk about road safety, I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we are having, to have the stakeholders coming together. We find ourselves, we want to do our own things. Why is this happening? As a volunteer, I want to do it at a personal level, whereby I'm not funded by anybody. The other person wants to do the same. So we are not able to do a very big thing. We only do according to what we have, because as much as I'm a volunteer, I need money.
Why is it hard for the volunteers to come together?
Because I feel we all of us kind of want to shine in a different way. You want to be the first one to break the news of this is happening. So you want to be the one doing the bigger thing
so
than
just
the
want
other.
to do the sort of shining
we forget about the road safety part. We are talking about saving lives. Same case to do with when we talk about NTSA, Kenha, Kura. If he tells you, he's talking about when you take a complaint about a certain road, what response do they get? So you find we are not, even the bigger offices are not ready to work together to solve this problem.
But why don't you first of all solve your own problems as volunteers?
Yeah.
Because, and I know this as a fact, you know, the government will listen to a well-established organization more than it will listen to you. Okay? Yeah. If you are to approach NTSA as Melania, your chances of getting a good hearing are almost zero. But when you have, for example, the Road Safety Volunteers Association of Kenya or something like that, when you knock, NTSA will open and listen to you. So why don't you start by doing the small housekeeping issues of coming together?
About the housekeeping, yes, it is possible. But as you have mentioned, you have said, as Melania, I cannot be heard. So I'm trying to bring these volunteers together. So why don't we have an officer from NTSA who will say, I would like to have all the volunteers on road safety to come together because we want to work together on this and this. Then they give us, these are the guidelines we would like you to follow.
Musumba, is NTSA willing to work with road safety volunteers?
Very well. Actually, one of our strongest pillars is to enhance stakeholder collaboration. And that's the trajectory we are taking. Because the realization is road safety is a shared responsibility. There's no way you can do it alone and get the results. So we really understand where they're coming from. And we value what they're doing in their space. There's so much they do.
Will you try to organize for a meeting with road volunteers after this? not as Musumba, but as NTSA.
Oh yes, this is not the first time we've done that. We do that a lot. We just commemorated the World Remembrance on Sunday, and quite a number of them really came on board, and we saw good things happening.
Do you appreciate what they do?
A lot.
Would you want that to be done in a more organized way?
Absolutely. If
would you be in a position as NTSA to help them come together?
If they were able to structure themselves that way, then that will be good. One opportunity now they have is we will be launching the National Road Safety Action Plan actually this month, and within this action plan, we have really appreciated their role. And one of the things that we are saying is stakeholder collaboration. Please come on board. Whatever you're doing, let's know what you're doing. Share with us the successes, the good stories. On Sunday, we met a CBO that is doing some work around Salga and areas around that road, you know. They have just formed themselves into what she mentioned, you know, emergency responders and all that. Some good work.
I like the fact that, you know, there is consensus, you know, from volunteers and NTSA that there is need for convergence, you know, at some point, and we look forward for that. I want to hear this from Melania. In terms of, you know, fast responders, in Kenya we say ambulances and nurses and doctors, who is always the first to attend to road crash victims?
Sadly, they are just well-wishers.
Well-wishers?
Yes.
With no technical training?
Yes.
With no necessary equipment?
Yes.
Medication or anything else?
Yes.
And I understand that this is where actually most people, they lose their lives.
Sure.
Because the well-wishers, they may be trying to do their best, but in this end, they end up, you know, doing more harm, you know, to the victims.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what should happen?
At least we have a road accident victim, a survivor who has been able to, a sad story of what she went through. But if our institutions or the government can come up with a policy whereby we have at the county level, we have this response team, people who are able to respond to accident. They are situated in major roads who are able to in case of an accident. We have trained, not necessarily a nurse, but trained people who can do first aid. But these people cannot be on the ground without maybe an ambulance. All this, we have the radio calls, which we use to communicate, to know what is happening here and there. The mobile numbers for hospitals that can respond to an issue in case of an accident. So I feel the government should at least do something to at least have a whole department, maybe I don't know whether from NTSA or from at the county level, to have ambulances or response personnel who are able to be on major roads. By now we know, we have been listed which are the most affected roads. So what if we have an ambulance in each and every road with a personnel of 4 or 5 people? So in case of an accident, you're able to rush there, respond. And still, that is where again the volunteers comes in. Can we be trained in case of an emergency? This is what you can do. We can also be able to assist in that.
And I want to hear this from Bright. You see, in Kenya, you know, health services, health is a devolved unit of, service of the county government. How comes, you know, county governments have never made deliberate efforts to establish emergency medical services, you know, within their counties? Because, look, these roads are in various counties. How comes we haven't seen these and yet we are quiet?
Priority.
It's priority.
Road crashes are not priority. I'll give you an example. How many people, and it's not to minimize any type of death, but how many people died from COVID? And how many people die from other disasters? Vis-a-vis how many people die from road crashes? Look at the attention that's given to other disasters. We have normalized deaths around our roads. I think we have been traumatized so much until
we've been down for too long that we don't get scared.
When we say 4,500 or 4,600, it's like we are counting groundnuts. We are not counting family heads. We are not counting people's brothers. We are not counting people's sisters. So the issue of road crashes has not been prioritized. It is put in the back burner. It doesn't have the emphasis. A crash happens, a plane crash happens. Even the president will give a speech. Crashes happen every day. You have told us 10 people do not get back home. Even the MCAs do not talk about it. So I think there is that equity even in terms of communication, that deaths around the roads have been minimalized as if they don't matter. And I think it's time we actually named it as it is, that death is death. It didn't matter how you died. And therefore, if the government's role is to safeguard the lives of Kenyans, the lives of Kenyans that die on the roads are just as worthy as the lives that die in aeroplanes. Those that die on railways or in the waters or wherever it is that they die.
And you wonder how comes, we have, we don't take, or we have not prioritized, setting up of EMS, points, at various highways, and bearing in mind that we have also lost so many of our leaders, political leaders, economic leaders, due to road crashes, and yet we just mourn for 1 week.
Yeah, and
we go back to default setting.
It is a reason I try to differentiate between a road accident and a road crash, because the moment we continue to minimize even what you call a thing, it becomes. Because an accident has a connotation that nothing could have happened. There's nothing. Ajali tungefanya nini? But a crash is something that is caused.
Is that what we used to say? Ajali haina kinga.
A crash is caused.
No, it is not true.
Actually, what happens in the air in a aircraft is what is an accident, because it is rare. But what we have on our roads every day are crashes. These are murders that are caused by a person that actually gets intoxicated and gets behind a wheel, or a person that builds a road that they know is not up to standard, or a vehicle that hasn't been checked properly, and you kill someone. It can never be an accident.
And how comes, for the 60 years of our independence that we have been around, I mean, I've never had a case whereby somebody is held to account for a certain road crash that happened because of poor designing, poor engineering works. How comes we've never had something like this, so that people can be held to account? Because we have so many cases of road crashes that were caused by defective designs, by an engineer somewhere, by an architect somewhere. Okay, do you pursue these kind of cases?
On that one, maybe I would like maybe to state something. We have seen the pedestrians are the most affected currently, but you ask yourself, our road designers considering the pedestrians? You find a road has been constructed, they have gone out of the site, no marking, no zebra crossing. You find it's a highway. Let me take still Eastern Bypass, because that is mostly my area. You have come, you have constructed a road, you have gone. Remember, this is we have businesses. You have not put any overpass, so you go for another 2-3 months after people complain, and we get so many accidents. That's when you start seeing they are marking and doing it very slowly. You don't have pathways for the pedestrians. And the ones that we have motorbikes running all over. So you'll find an accident, you have been knocked by a motorbike, yet you are on the right place. you find we have like our pavement have become like now it's mutumba and everything. People are hawking. You don't have somewhere to pass. So I feel you have grabbed. So you feel the pedestrians, as much as we have seen the number is up, they don't have a fault. That just that they are not considered. Do you consider them when designing this road?
And I like the fact that you are bringing in that issue. I mean, of course, we must give credit where it's due. We have seen a deliberate efforts by road agencies, you know, to develop NMT, non-motorized infrastructure for pedestrians. But this is not enough. And you remind me of a case of this highway that was constructed, a very beautiful, nice piece of road from Ruaka all the way to Dendero, then all the way to Angige. And it's quite sad that that road was completed almost 2 years ago. It doesn't have zebra crossing. It doesn't have pedestrian bridges. And so when you are putting up a highway, do we also consider the fact that not everybody is a driver who is going to use that road? Do you use it, for example, have you ever had of that kind of conversation with the Kenya National Highways Authority in regard to that road?
Oh,
and
actually,
you have people dying every day on that road.
That is supposed to be the practice. And right now, of course, we are keen on that more than ever before. But I would say this, just going back to the case of a road that kills people and then nobody gets to court, I mean, over this. The justice system is all about precedents. Do we have a precedent in this country where engineers have been taken to court anywhere? And I think the answer is really no. And that really begs the question that who should start this conversation? I mean, who should push this?
Start by proper investigations.
Absolutely.
What do the investigations say after a crash?
Exactly. And then it also goes to even ourselves. Look at the way we handle our incidents on the road. You knock me from behind, I come out and say, Tuelewane. Tuelewane means what? You lose everything. There's no investigation. I'll pay you 1,000 or 10,000 shillings there. You go and make your car.
It's because of the long bureaucratic process that is involved.
It should not be.
By the way,
be the case.
By the way,
proceed to the end.
Because we have to come to the end of this conversation. Even our men and women in blue, they encourage this. Because the first thing they'll come to the side is this. Okay? But as we allow Maria to come and give us what the public is talking about in regards to road safety, help us understand what is the status of our emergency rescue services in this country. I remember there was a time when NTSA paraded brand new ambulances, okay, and at Uhuru Park, I remember, because I attended that event as a reporter, and you know, shiny Subaru cars, you know, just to check on our roads.
Your preachers, by the way.
Oh, they have brought more.
They have.
Okay. What is the state of our emergency?
That's really not our mandate per se, but of course, being in that road safety space, then we also sort of just look at that as well. But that is the preserve of Ministry of Health and the county government, because now it's a devolved function and that kind of thing. But I would say the first devolved government system really tried. We saw of ambulances everywhere. Where they have disappeared to, it is it's another story altogether. But I would say not so adequate. We are not there as a country. Today, if you had an accident on one of these roads, who would you call? Do we have that free toll line that you would call it, for example?
999.
It's not there. People have even died, you know, just waiting for that emergency response and all that. So as a country, I think there's much more to be done in terms of even deploying these services, training even more responders as well. We are still not yet there.
Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, and I like the fact that we are highlighting the gaps and the interventions that are needed in a bid to scale down this number, because our desire is to have 0 deaths on our roads. Mariambo, I mean, I know you asked a question to our viewers, and you want to take us through the responses so far?
Yes, indeed, O'Brien. Quite a number of responses on our Facebook, but also on our Twitter page. And the question we had asked really is, you know, how safe do you feel on our Kenyan roads? So I think from the discussion, O'Brien, I can almost say that Kenyans are not safe, or they don't feel safe on the roads. You know, whether you're crossing the road as a pedestrian, the numbers are too high. You know, and just as Melania was asking, why would that happen? Because these are not even drivers, or at least riding on motorcycles or something of that sort. So again, the issue of design comes into question. The issue of, can I say, enforcement? Because right here, just next to us here, we have the flyover, the footpath, yeah? The footbridge here at the university. How many people decide to cross right down there instead of using? And so the question is, you know, human beings will always look for shortcuts. So if the road designers are not going to ensure that nobody can cross that road, you know, and use the footpath, then we'll always take the shortcut. So to just sample some of the views of I mean, some of the reactions from our viewers is that Jairus Mukwana Zadok says, not safe, Syokimau Road. So there must be something about Syokimau roads there. So he says he doesn't feel safe there. Ruben Aremo says, I don't feel safe in the country. So I'm not so sure that is the country or on our roads, yes. And Kevin Wanyonyi says no. Evan King also says no, they don't feel safe. So it's work for our colleagues at the NTSA, you know, as you do enforcement. These are some of the things that you need to actually discuss, you know, and all that. So, Brian, that is what we have for tonight. I want to say thank you to our guests for coming in and just sharing, you know, Bright Oyuaya sharing about her experience, you know, 26 years on, and she still is, can I say, paying the price. The number of people paying the price because their breadwinners have died or they've been maimed and so they've lost their jobs. So those are some of the things that, you know, need to concern us more. So thank you again, back at home, for taking the time to, you know, interact with us tonight. My name is Mariambo. Over to you, O'Brien.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mariambo, for the responses from the public. I'm giving you 10 seconds each so that you can give a solution to the challenge that we are facing in our road subsector. I want to start with Bright.
We need to quit the silos and have better coordination.
Quit the
for
silos.
Road safety to work. Yes, we work with
and
silos.
Better coordination.
It doesn't help.
Very good. Thank you, Bright. Musumba.
I call upon Kenyans. The choices we make on the road are actually what is affecting us most, which is human behavior-related issues. Let us make the right choices. The motivation behind speeding, the motivation behind drink driving, it's a behavior, it's a choice. I can do it or not do it. I wish we can make better choices than what we're making now.
Better choices. Yeah. Very good. Melania.
Togetherness is the key. Let's come together as stakeholders as we talk about road safety. Then the enforcers enforce.
Very good.
You.
And my 10 seconds is to engineers. Even as you design our roads and we see your beautiful work, please put road safety or pedestrian safety first. O'Brien Kimani is my name. You have been watching the scorecard tonight. As our culture, today we are not going to scorecard this topic. It has been quite a somber one. We'll do this again next Tuesday. So stay out here, watch closely for the next conversation that we are going to have. Have yourself a good night, and God bless you.